Welcome back to MadTakeTV. I am Jeremy, the face you will see when you tune into this channel. The other face you're looking at is Dre. He's been my partner throughout this Severance podcast that we've been doing. Been having a blast with it, and that's what we're here to talk to you about right now is episode 6 of Severance, Attila. So what up, Dre? How you feeling, man? You look like you got you upgraded the background, brother. I like it.
Yeah. I did blue walls. Got my figures in a case over here. I got some in front of me, but obviously you can't see that, and I'm not gonna turn the camera around.
No,
But
yeah.
I got a custom-made poster on the wall, and it's made out of the finest of yak ass hair. No, it's it's a
Yeah.
canvas banner that I got from a buddy of mine named I can't recall.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
No, I don't know him. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, so fuck that guy. Anyway.
Anyway, yeah, Dre did the design on his banner, and I printed it up for him at my print shop. It looks fucking awesome behind him, man. That's badass. He did a fucking insane job on the design. It was so good. I love it, man. Great job, dude.
I hope the people at home could see some of the figures back there. I know some of the bigger ones are easy to pick out, like Superman, Captain, Dr. Manhattan, Miss Prime, but
I'm looking at it. I can see it. I can see it pretty well. I can see all of them pretty well.
I'm going to buy another camera too. I'm going to buy a camera just for the banner.
What kind of camera? You have to keep me updated on that.
Just get one with a higher resolution.
I'm going to make sure that I get, I don't know, we got to get some followers first, and then I'll go buy a camera. I'm using this, the Logitech webcam. I mean, you can change settings on it. It turns it into pretty good.
Oh no, this one is good for what it's being used for now, but you know how I am with technology. It's like when something new come out, I lose my mind. I feel like I have to have it. Like Microsoft just claimed to have invented a new state of matter that is not a solid liquid or a gas, and that they're using this to make quantum qubits for quantum computing. I'm gonna be the first one to buy it when it's available. That's what it is.
Yeah, I know. I like technology too. I like shit. You have no idea how long all of this technology actually sat on my desk before I actually started using it. The stream deck, the headphones, the camera, the microphones, the and yeah. Here, let's make a podcast. Let's do it. I have all the equipment. It's just sitting here.
Circa 1998, but no.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, so episode 6, Severance, season 2. I mean, this show every week, man, just keeps banging out. I mean, intense episodes without like any ultra violence, a whole lot of like, I mean, there's some cussing, but nothing. It's like the language isn't too bad. I'm just saying, they managed to create these scenes and these tense scenes with their facial expressions and actors. I don't know. I just continue to be impressed by it week by week.
That's actually a good point, because usually with TV dramas, a lot of the intensity comes from somebody doing a lot of cheating, a lot of slapping, punching, stabbing, shooting, kidnapping.
Well,
this doesn't need all that extra.
No, right, exactly. Just like a lot of like the tenseness comes from somebody could get killed, you know, like, or somebody could get hurt, or you could see one of the characters that you're watching get injured or killed. There is kind of that here. What was that?
I said that overwhelming sense of what the hell is going on here.
Oh, well, this show is done that phenomenally since season 1 and continues to do so. I mean, there's been some questions answered, I think, if you went through them, but like, I don't know if they've just done anything but add a whole bunch more like questions. That's not true.
Well,
I know.
I was going to say, on this, dealing specifically with this latest episode and the previous one, I think we got a lot of answers to some of our questions, even though those answers come with some questions. But I think we've got some solid answers. Uh, we kind of know who the players are at this point, except for the board.
Well, you had a theory about that on a couple episodes ago, didn't you? Or maybe even on our first Severance episode, you talked about how you think the board. Maybe it was even in the previous podcast, like the How to Watch TV podcast that we used to do. That it was discussed that the board could be some sort of hive mind of all the dead Egans or something like that. If that was, I don't remember correctly.
Yeah, yeah. The board. We got a lot of theories floating out there. The board could be like not actually. My theory was that the board didn't even exist anymore, and it was kind of like this just this fear that they keep over people's heads to keep them in control. Like the board says this, the board says that. I've
It
never seen
works.
any. Every time somebody speaks about meeting with the board, they talk about meeting with the board via communication online on the phone or something. Nobody ever says I was meeting with the board, and you don't get the impression that somebody met with the board face to face.
No, they're represented by that little speaker box.
Right? They represent them by the speaker box, but even like when they would like okay with so we can hurry up and go into the episode, but even with the a couple episodes back when Cobell was in the parking lot and we discussed that and we was speculating on what she might have seen or what she might have realized and why she got scared and ran away. Even then, Helena said, "Get the board on the phone." You know
Yeah,
what I
no,
mean?
that
Like
wasn't where you're
it's
going to go in and
never
meet him in person. Yeah, 100% correct. Yeah, she was
right.
going to
It's
pull him up
never
on
a
the speaker
reference
box.
of let's talk to the board and we're gonna set up a meeting on this day because the board had to be there. No, it's just get them on the phone because they might not physically exist. Is what I'm saying.
Listen, I'm right behind you. That has not been neither confirmed nor denied that they physically exist. Like at this point, it's Schrodinger's board. They don't. We don't know yet. Right.
shout
The
out to shout out to the physics nerds. But go
right.
ahead.
So the episode opens up with, man. I don't, for some reason, cannot remember her name. The doctor that is helping Mark in his basement. What is her name? Do you know her name? Okay, so I don't feel so bad. Anyway, so it opens up on those two talking. Obviously, Mark is distraught, sweaty, and he's trying to describe this reintegration experience. And he's just like, there was a gray hallway, and then it was just white. Everything was so white. And
Right.
he's just talking about his, like, hearing his wife spout all those different facts. He's like, she was saying a bunch of facts, like, just really, he could see he was obviously really, really taking a decline. And he's just
He,
like, man, what are they doing to her? And
he was
and her response,
disturbed because
go ahead.
he was disturbed because he was like, why is she just saying random facts? Like what the hell is going
Right.
on?
But he was saying facts
And by
because
the way,
also it was like, it was correct. Those things that she was saying were like actual facts from their life. Like it was crazy.
hmm
And his or her response was, which I thought was interesting, and another, I don't know, just weird rabbit hole we can dive down, I guess, is she says she's essential.
I don't know
What the
what, but
fuck
she's
does that
essential.
mean?
That's all I know. Well, yeah,
It
but
really,
here's the
like, it's
thing.
just like,
First of
God, it
all,
makes you uncomfortable, and it's just like, man, what does that
the
mean?
doctor, the scientist that's working with Mark, her name is Ragabi, and in this scene that you're describing,
Like
the
Dr.
opening
Ragabi,
scene,
or is that her first name is
it's just
Ragabi?
Ragabi. They just
Okay,
say
Ragabi.
Ragabi.
Okay.
But in the scene that you're describing, the thing that struck me when we were discussing it before recording was that the same thing from last week. It's just like, what skin does she have in the game? Like, what is it? What exact? Like, it's one thing to be like, okay, I want to take down a company I used to work for, but
No, that seems like it's that, like, that's not fine.
yeah,
That
that
could
don't
be
seem
part
like
of it, and
ample
but that's
motivation to
not the
risk
only thing.
committing murder.
No, no way.
It don't
She,
it,
it's
that it
something
don't seem like
moral.
I would risk my freedom for something like that.
It's something
unless
moral.
I really know something that's going on there that I think is a threat to
Right.
people.
It's something that's getting that either got at her conscience eventually, like she just couldn't take what she was doing, or she realized at some point that like she wasn't getting to see the results of her work. You know what I'm saying? Like she knew what she was doing when they were telling her these are the results, but they wasn't the real results. And she found out like that, oh, this is fucked up and I don't want to do this anymore, and then quit and started to do the work on how to reverse this awful thing that she had done in some sort of attempt to redeem herself because of how
Right.
bad she felt. When I think she was misled in a way, I don't really know, like because that would be like Lumen misled her, or she had a change of heart. Like that makes her character really interesting in a way because we don't
Oh,
know which one of those things it is.
well, one thing that's for certain is Hollywood, and this is a blanket statement for Hollywood. Whenever there's a tertiary character like that, they tend to flesh out their character's motivation with a loved one. So I'm hoping beyond hope that they don't go. The show, we said it a million times. The show does not do what people expect it to do, which is what's great about it.
Yeah.
But I just want to warn them beforehand. Please don't make it where her brother is in there, or her little sister, or she had a kid, and whatever. I don't. Please make it something more intriguing than that. I'm pre-complaining for something I hope that doesn't happen.
I hope it's not something lame like that because that does sound kind of lame. I like more of the like and I think this show deals with like moral complexities really well. So I think that would be more what they would
Hmm.
lean on more than some sort of trope like I gotta save my cousin, like like
All right.
yeah. So I feel you on that. That makes a lot of sense. So then we go from there, and they're in the office like talking.
Hmm.
Like I think we're picking up in the middle of a conversation. And it seems like that Dylan is telling them about the map that he found. He's kind of letting the
Yeah,
beans
he's
spill, but
describing
he's
the hallway and stuff.
also while at the same time saying, I put it back because I don't want to get in trouble right now. And they're like, what is it? You could tell us. And he's just like, nah, and he walked away. So he doesn't want to give up this new privileges. And so the thing that they're doing to turn him against the team is working.
Oh yeah, it's highly
The,
effective.
right. The things that we've
They
discussed,
dangled they
in before.
dangled they dangled the 45-year-old mother of two carrot in front of his face, and
I thought it was three. There was three
he
kids in
did it.
there, wasn't there? Or was it only two?
I don't know. Three, four, five. I mean, after you get two, it don't really matter no more. Your life is over.
Right. Right. So then, yeah, uh, then we get a weird like a flashback, not a flashback. Sorry, he like opens the fridge door and like has like a reintegration moment to where he goes back and then he's like standing in his apartment or his house like looking and he's like what, and like Helly's talking to him. The visual representation of this thing that's happening to his brain on screen, dude, like it's so fucking good at this visual, the way they put these flashes together of different things, and they're not it's not that's not like it's a flashing from real life or from like outside to inside. It's a mixture. Both things are mixed. Like when it goes back and forth,
Yeah,
there's like lumen things on the outside, and then there's outside things on the inside. It's the way that they cut this together. I'm like so impressed with the editing and the
yeah.
cinematics of it.
I like I like it. There's some really talented people out there visually that's working in Hollywood, especially on this show. The flashes of his reintegration that he sees, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the FX show from Marvel, Legion, when Legion would be drifting in and out of consciousness between different realities, inside his
I
brain or whatever.
I watched
It
the
kind of
first few
reminded me of
episodes
that.
when it came out, but I never finished up with it.
Oh
Wasn't out of
yeah,
it, and
but
there
yeah,
wasn't anything that like I have no excuse or reason like I didn't like it. There was probably a lot of other TV going on at that moment, and I just didn't follow it.
yeah, but no, but that's what it reminds me
Is it
of.
worth a watch?
It reminds. Hmm?
Is it worth a watch? Legion?
It's one of the best Fox, and I mean, it's one of the best Marvel shows I've ever seen. It's in my top three.
Oh
But
wow, okay.
it reminded me of that effect that they did there, and then unironically, well, not unironically, I'm half asleep right now. Sorry. Um, it also reminded me of the effects I just saw on the show called Evil with the guy who played Mike Coulter, who played Luke Cage from the Luke Cage show,
Mm-hmm.
where the he was a remote viewer. But anyway, I don't want to go into that show because but the point is, I've seen visual effects like
I've
that
heard good
before, and
things
I
about
thought it
that
was.
show. You've told me to watch it, and I think somebody else, I can't remember who it is, has told me to watch that show. And I have to get around
Well,
to it.
I don't. I don't want to. I don't want to. Evil is a very good show. It ended and they canceled it while filming season 4, even though it was renewed for season 5. And the show was canceled. They were able to finish out season 4, and because the show got canceled after being renewed for season 5, they
Story didn't wrap up.
kind of rushed the ending. So they were filming, I want to say, the last 3 episodes of season 4 when they got the news.
That sucks.
So Evil is good all the way up until the last 3 episodes, at which point they kind of just shit the bed, because this is one of those shows I have to give them, I got to give them a pass. It wasn't their fault. The studio canceled the show, so it is what it is. But the show was
It's
dope as hell.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it. I like Michael Coulter. I do. I like Luke Cage. I enjoyed that show very much. So we go from there to the intro, and then now here's how where tensions get high, like they with these like real close in cuts during the Milchek and Miss Wong scene, where like they managed to convey some tension with just two people standing in an office, and he's what is he says something about he brings up wintertide, like he's telling her that
She's
like
a
I'm in
winter
charge of
tide.
your I'm in charge of your internship here, and I get to decide whether or not you're wintertide material. Is that what he said, or something along those
Right. She's
lines?
a she's a she's a she's an intern, and that's pretty much it.
What is wintertide?
Winter tide is whatever the program is after they get to the cold harbors. They got to tie it down for the
Do you,
winter.
do you
I
think
was just
that? Do you think? I
that's
know that's funny. Do you think that they're related? Though, really, like all joking aside, do you think that wintertide is
no,
related to Cold
I'm
Harbor, or
100% guessing that they're related just based off etymology. Etymology, I would assume that winter tide is what's next after cold harbor. So if you're thinking about a journey, and this is
oh, you think they're
the
thinking ahead, and she could be a future leader? I guess that makes sense.
yeah.
Future manager or leader or project manager or something for the
Hmm.
wintertide, as
Yeah, just going
Milchek
to
is for Cold Harbor.
right.
Okay. So we go then from
But yeah,
go ahead. So oh yeah, that was an interesting scene though, because like he says I'm going to be busy all day, and I'm sure that you could use can you steward the floor in my stead? And she goes to step forward to like sit at his desk, thinking that he's like going to be somewhere else. He's like, nah, you can go to your own desk out there, and the look on her face, how it changes, is you could say that she really took that as a sign of disrespect in a way. Am I wrong?
mm, well, she understood what it was. Milchick, right there in the moment. What you were describing. First of all, he checked her on her childish nature.
Oh, right, right.
This
That's the
was the
line.
same
Yeah.
thing. He did it eloquently, and he didn't do it very succinctly. He did it in a way that was exactly what they said in his performance review. He used too many big words. So Milchick told her, I can't remember the exact quote. I wish I would have written it down,
He
but
said, you need to eradicate from your essence childish folly.
yeah, exactly. So he was in that moment tightening the reins as he told Drummond he would do, but he was starting with her because I believe, I mean, I'm thinking they making it pretty obvious. He knows that the complaints from his performance review came from Mrs. Wong.
I think
Miss
so
Wong.
too. I was going to say that. So I'm glad you touched on
They,
that.
they, they kind of just spelling that out, and
Yeah,
the
I think
fact that
so.
she was curious about it and asked how it went. She's taking shots at him. He's taking shots at her. But the thing is,
There is a little bit of a
in that
like a
moment,
power struggle going on, isn't there?
right? And the
Right.
thing is, in that moment, he was letting her know, like, look, I'm still in charge. You work for me. First of all, your future with the company is in my hands. That was the first reminder. Then the second one was, okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit of responsibility. I got some stuff to do, but you still in your same spot. So he didn't say like you can't sit here. He said you can sit at your regular desk. That's where you are. That's where you belong. Just just checking her real quick. But she's ambitious. It seems she's very ambitious. So
Yeah.
she's gonna try to throw some monkey wrenches in his operation. She we theorized, and I see a lot of people online theorizing that Milchick is gonna flip, lose his mind, and somehow help the innies out. I don't see that.
Man, I
I
do
don't see
not
that.
get that vibe at all. Like the
I don't
redeemed
see that.
villain vibe. Like, no, I don't get that from him at
Nah,
all.
what I see now, just based on what's lining up, I see her helping the innies in order to subvert Milchick.
Okay. Yeah.
And that would actually play out better, and that would give us a reason for her to even exist on the show. Because as it stands right now, she's just a creepy kid.
Right. Right. So then we go into the stall with and the Hellion marker in the bathroom stall, and he spills the beans about what happened between him and Helena at the retreat at Woe's Hollow. So basically, but the words he uses again brings up an interesting point for me. He says, when he blurts it out, he's like, "Helly, we shared vessels," which okay, to me is another one of these things that indicates to me in this world there's something going on with the ability for humans to procreate. It's either lessening or it's becoming fewer and fewer and farther between people having babies. They're just either not
Hmm.
doing it on purpose or it's some sort of genetic thing or it's a worldwide something in this world is wrong with human reproduction. The way they refer to it, the whole lactation consultants. I know that those are a thing that actually exists now, but the way that they were treated in this show is like they're like you have to have a good one, you know, like you got to find the right one. And what was the other one? Lactation fraud. The term was brought up. So
Yeah, I
the
don't know.
birthing retreats, and I know that those things exist, but the way that they were referred to and treated in this show was like it was like more and more of a common thing, and the people getting
Right.
severed to give birth to the baby, you know, is was a topic that came up in season one. And
Yeah,
it's
they
just to
definitely
me, it's
did
just like
talk
there's a
about that.
whole thing. There's something weird about reproduction in this world, and now we don't. And again, so Dylan has 3 kids, I think, from what I counted. So like, people can still have children. This is obvious. We've seen babies in the show, but it's just what's going on with it that it's such a touchy subject, seemingly.
Well, see, that kind of throws a monkey wrench in the whole thing. I never really thought about it that consciously, but as you said, Dylan has 3 children. Dylan is also shown to be a bit of a fuck up when it comes to his finances and taking care of home, where everything financially is leaning on a wife. So the ability to go out and give birth. may not exactly be something that's like reserved for people with the money or influence, because it's highly unlikely that they have that
So say that
either.
again.
So
You think it's reserved or not reserved? You think it's
no,
like they're
I don't think
making the
it's
poor
reserved at
have
all.
babies?
I think that maybe just spitballing right now in the moment, because like I said, I never really even
That's what we're here
consciously
for.
thought about that. But maybe it's just a thing where a certain class of people are trying to procreate in a specific way. It could
Sort of
be
like that. What's that? CRISPR? Is that what it's called? That like
just the gene
the gene
splicing,
splicing, like, and you could like
right?
basically make your dream child before they're born. Is that okay? I could see something like that
Could
being
you imagine? But anyway, go ahead. I'm just saying, could you imagine
right.
you sunk all of your assets into like making the perfect baby, and the baby come out and like fucking hate you,
Just an
and
asshole. Right.
like I'm moving to
Right.
Arizona. Like as soon as he able to move, he just get up and fucking leave the
I never
house
want to
and
talk
never
to you
come
again.
back.
Jeez. Oh wow.
The fuck.
Right.
Anyway, continue, Ray. Sorry.
So then after that, yeah, no, it goes to into he tells Helly. Helly gets obviously upset. I mean, we knew that was bomb. I'm glad that Mark approached it like he did and didn't keep it a secret. I think she would have been a lot more angry had she found out from someone else besides him.
Now, what I'm
Right?
gonna say here is echoing your sentiment, but in a different way. I'm happy that the show, I want to keep praising the show and I don't want to glaze it too much, but I have to say, I hate TV show episodes that center around somebody keeping a secret from somebody that's an ally. It's different for like people on the board, Milchick and Cobell and all of those people. But when
No.
it's the quote unquote good guys, the protagonists of the show, and one of them has a secret, my bad. One of them has a secret and they keep the secret for no obvious reason. Those type of shows give me a tension in my chest and I fucking hate watching them.
It's like, why
So
are
the
you
fact that
lying to
Mark,
your boy?
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
so the fact that Mark came out early and just look, man, as soon as he got a moment alone with her, he was
Right.
like, hey, check this out. Yeah, so I hit your doppelganger.
Well, and I think he also had to convince. So I think he didn't say anything last episode because he was just
Because he
visibly
wasn't sure it was
upset.
her.
He wasn't sure it was her. So, and he
Right.
had to come to that realization that it was. And he told her, I'm glad he did. She reacted accordingly. Again, I keep mentioning it. I guess it's going to be a through line on these podcasts. They're how I don't know if they took a class on acting with their face, but for fuck's sake, are they all really good at it? When he tells her when you can see like her adding those things up and the realization hitting her in the face, and then she finally gets to this is a tactic, you know, and then she like I'm gonna go for a walk, and obviously let her go, like you don't want to follow after that. You just go shut the fuck up and go, you know, sit at your desk like you did.
And for the people who like accurate predictions, I'm gonna say this might be the best show for you. Call your friends. We predict these things quite accurately because, and I do pay attention to what's going on in society on social media, and I watch a lot of people review these episodes. I didn't see anybody saying that Helly would react in the classic sexual assault victim style. I didn't see a single person say that. We said that. It was definitely said on the last episode that she would react to it as a sexual assault. She never said she viewed it as that, but they showed her do the same thing that Hollywood always does when a woman is sexually assaulted in a movie or TV show.
Yeah,
They go and they
it,
find a corner,
it takes her
usually in the
shoes off
shower,
and
but of
yeah,
course, right, usually in the shower, but of course the innies can't get in the shower because they're at work, but they get in the corner and then they do that slow slide down the wall and ball up into themselves. This is literally what she did. So she viewed it mentally as a sexual assault first, but not from Mark, but from her outie.
from the Audi.
I thought that was dope as hell. And I want to say, this is me plugging this show that you're currently watching. You need to watch us because I'm telling you, we think about these things thoroughly. Continue, Ray. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm looking over my notes here. The Yeah, so she handled that like we kind of anticipated she would. But then I don't know, somewhere along the way she comes to the realization and it gets to her mind. Man, I must like quit taking notes at a bad point or something, or didn't write something down. So I confused myself a little bit there, but that's fine.
The wall slide got you.
Right, the wall slide. Yeah, no, that's a. So the next scene is our boy Milchek, and he's going into that back storeroom that's attached to his office there, and he gets out a giant jar of paper clips and walks over to this desk with a stack of had to be 10,000, two individual stacks of 10,000 papers, and just starts paper clipping them motherfuckers together.
I
Like,
got a question for you, Jeremy.
yeah, go ahead.
There's 2 employees in the arts department. About we saw about 30 people come out with the sheet. Rough estimate.
Well, there was more in
Three.
the arts department. You mean the optics and design?
Yeah.
There was two, but then there was the people hidden in
We
the room with the 3D printers. Remember?
We've never, yeah, but it was maybe about 40 in there. We
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
have not seen the sheer amount of employees that would need these 2-page whatever documents that he was putting together. It was almost
So no, I thought they were just blank.
no, it was something on the papers.
I thought, yeah, but I thought it was just like a letterhead. Like I thought it was just said like across the like it was just like a Lumen logo across the top, and he was just paper clipping blank pieces of paper together to
Yeah.
to practice himself putting them paper clips on the right way. I didn't know that. I didn't think of them
Oh
being like
yeah, I can
actual
see
reports. But yeah, that's
that
an
actually
interesting
makes
thought
more
as
sense.
well. Like that's kind of crazy. Like if they are actual reports, where the fuck are all these people at?
Yeah,
Oh shit!
that but no, actually your observation makes way more sense. I would hope that that's the right one because I was sitting there like, wait a minute, who is all these papers for? Like, who the hell? Where are these people at? And how many floors? I pay attention to the dialogue, especially. It was a point in which I mean, the innies were discussing the hallway with the elevator when they were talking to Dylan
Yeah, when he
and
was kind
Mark.
of, he was describing the picture that was drawn on that paper he found
Right, right.
with an elevator that only goes down.
But he was saying there's floors below us.
Mm-hmm.
But no, actually, he said there's a floor below us. It's not so much for the character, but for the audience to kind of think, okay, if there's more floors below, how many floors are there? You know,
Yeah, I
so
think that answer to that question is absolutely undetermined. And
right,
storytelling wise, there could always be another floor.
yeah, always one more floor.
There could always be another floor below that floor. The fact that they've been on the floor that they're on and have not all the exploring they did and were not able to find that elevator is pretty bonkers. But I guess that's what the map is for. That's he found that map and he put it back. So yeah, well, she was going to go find it. Was her point during that scene? Was she was mad that she's like, I don't give a fuck about getting in trouble. I'm gonna go get it.
Shout out to old Helly. That's great writing.
Right.
They completely separate the character motivation from Helena because old Helly was characterized as like this intrepid explorer who just like, okay, this is the mission. I'm trying to get the fuck out of here. That's all I'm doing. I don't care nothing about nothing else. This is what I'm doing.
Right.
So she got right back to business. Where's the map? Let's go get it right now. Like, don't the hell with the plan. The plan is to go. Let's go.
Right.
Let's go see what's happening.
And what was the line she used? Did everybody sever their balls this morning in the
Right,
elevator?
everybody separated. No. The first one, she looked at Dylan and she said, "Oh, is it behind the poster? You actually being brave?"
The poster of you actually being brave. Dude, so like I think it was at that point too. Like you were sitting here, we were watching it the other day or yesterday together. We were like, I was like, this show is kind of low key a comedy, right? Because it literally it makes me laugh all the time. Like I laugh at
No,
stuff during this show all the time. So
yeah,
that goes into then Dylan in the next meeting with his wife with another one of our correct predictions coming true in this
yeah.
scene.
We definitely predicted that there would be a romance between any Dylan and his Ali's wife. I mean, I guess they can't for that one. They kind of spelled it out, but we kind of guessed it exactly the way that it happened, which was they would she would be more attracted to him as an any, and she just showed it. She's cheating on her husband with himself.
It's so bananas. So here, it's just like a thing. Like, so I had this interesting thought, and I guess we could talk about it now. I kind of wrote it down at the end because it was kind of like a like a realization moment that I had. Like the
Mhm.
innies are kind of like teenagers locked up in a school. They're locked up for how locked up. I don't know. They don't. I know they don't lock kids in school, but that's kind of like the idea. You're required to spend this amount of time in this building per day. Here you are. You have to do these things. You have to do this work. You have to get this done. These are the rules required of you. You have an authority figure that you have to listen to, that you're intimidated by or afraid of. I mean, hell, Helly and Mark in the next scene. So the scene with Dylan's wife, I'll just continue real quick. The scene with Dylan's wife kind of leads into this like montage a little bit of like where they start to discuss and they start to kiss, and he's saying things like, "Yeah, I really like you. I wish we could be together all the time." And she's like,
All the time,
"Yeah,
right?
we are," you know. And I just think that like she is seeing whatever it may be, that original younger person that she fell in love with. That's who he is. He's teenage Dylan. Conquer the world.
Yeah,
I'm the fucking best at everything. Fucking teenage attitude. And they just,
and as an addition to that, he's also the realization of the potential that Audi Dylan has. She doesn't see the real. One thing about relationships, and this is good writing because you can tell this is written by somebody who's had long-term relationships. The thing about long-term relationships is not so much always the perspective of I'm physically attracted to and love this person, but you also look at the potential of that person. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And Dylan has potential. It's in him,
And it's just
but
got buried under whatever the fucking stress of this
that
fucking life that they're leading
right,
is. Three
life,
children.
life keeping his
Nothing's
ass
worked out for me. My wife has to work. We're both. I mean, he's working, so like you can't really call him like a deadbeat or anything. Like he's doing his thing. He's going to work at
right.
Lumen and bringing home a paycheck. So like I'm
And they
I'm
got to
trying
be
to
good
figure.
because they pay the innies really well.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what the. So then why are they so fucking unhappy?
They're unhappy because you remember Dylan is one of the newer employees. This is the latest in a string of employments that he's had that's inconsistent. That's what they kind of
Okay.
characterized him as. And now that he got this job and he was fine, the only thing we saw was him interacting with his children. Well, not really. He was sitting in a closet, but then his
Oh, in season
children
one.
came in when his Audi, did the thing
Right.
in season one. But now he got fired.
Yeah.
So it's another job you lost. You know what I mean? And she's the one with consistent employment and having to, carry the weight financially. When she came home, without discussing what the other thing that was happening during that, because we'll separate those two.
Sure.
But when she came home after the visit to the innie, and he asked about it, and she said they canceled it, she immediately lied.
She lied. I wrote
Now,
that in big capital letters in my notes.
yeah,
She
she
lied.
she lied, and it's weird. And the only reason why it's weird is because for the viewer, we're looking like that's your fucking husband. Why lie about it?
But
But
there's
what they're characterizing here is when somebody's cheating with somebody, they're not gonna come home and tell you about it.
because
She lied.
she lied because some part of her knows that he would be hurt by it or that
Yeah,
she feels like it's wrong. She knows it's wrong, which is why she why you, The only reason a person lies is to either try to save somebody's feelings or save themselves. And I think she
Yeah,
lied right
and
there to save his feelings about it because she knew he would be hurt. So in turn, she knows that shit is wrong.
he assumed he'd be hurt. But here's the thing:
Sure.
I think the show is trying to push us in the direction of the mindset of the people in this world. Because as an experienced person of the world, I feel like I could have sold that one. Like if my wife had an innie and I went to visit her in a day to help the innie out, and I came home and she told me like what happened, I was like, oh man, I was in there, I was filling her up. I feel like I could sell it. You know what I mean?
I
And she
feel
would be like,
like
"Dude,
every individual would react differently. It's
yeah,
so
I
funny
know.
because,
But
like
what
I said, I
I'm saying
had
is,
this discussion with my wife. She says not cheating. Even after that very uncomfortable scene that we saw, she stood by it. She stood her ground. She said it's not
yeah,
cheating. That's her husband.
like it's this. The you still you is the same person. You was just
But okay, but that brings up this conversation that happened at dinner with Irv, Burt, and Fields.
that's where I
That
was
leads
going.
into
That's
that.
exactly
So
where I
I
was
think
going.
I don't think I wrote it down right, but I think that scene is in here somewhere because I got two different sets of notes. Because on my third watch through, I was just trying to like write down each scene real quick, just so I could have a quick
Mhm.
reference for each scene. And I somewhere I must have lost track. I thought I finished it, I did not. So I think somewhere is the scene where Bert or where Irving arrives at their house, and Bert opens the door and says, "Who the hell are you?" Ah, I'm joking, you know, and welcomes him in, and they start having dinner or whatever. You meet Fields, who there was some rumors out there actually right before the show. I was watching with my wife and daughter, my oldest daughter, and she says that the guy that we saw with the push cart in the last episode that they didn't show his face. She said this is gonna
Oh,
that's gonna be Fields, and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
oh,
It wasn't him though, man. If you watch
you
that cart
sure
back,
about
I we could go back. I actually I meant to, but I have not gone back and watched that scene again. But it didn't seem to me like it looked like that same actor,
well, I
Walter.
mean, they could swap out actors because think about it. The guy who was Fields in season one when you saw Irving standing outside
Right.
and saw him walk up behind and give
It's a
him a
different
hug.
actor, 100%.
That was a completely different actor.
Right.
Now,
But
contractually, they might not have
I also
signed
don't
him
think
yet.
they mentioned his name in the first
No,
season.
they never said his name because he was just watching them from the outside. But
So
what I'm saying is
go ahead.
that could just be. I don't want to give too much speculation on that because we've been hitting
No,
damn
but I
near
think
like
you're
75%. But
I think you were about to
uh,
say the same thing I was going to say. It was like I think that was just honestly just a Hollywood thing. I think
mhm.
even largely, and maybe even season one, that character was maybe not even named. They didn't
Also,
know the
bear in
name
mind
Fields at that point.
the opening sequence to the first episode of season two was shot over a period of I want to say 5 to 6 weeks, just the hallway running.
Yeah,
So when they're filming this shit, just like any other production, it's not sequential. So
right.
you might swap out an actor, especially one who you don't show the front of their face.
Well, they didn't show that. They obviously didn't show that guy's face for a reason. I have to go back and watch it. I want to go back and watch that episode again, just that scene, and I want to see if it matches up because I just remember his hair. The guy with the push cart, his hair was bright white, and I have honestly the I don't know his name, but I have the actor who I think it was pictured, and I was waiting for that guy's face to show up. I don't know his name. If I'd have to it's a bitch because I wouldn't even know where to look for him or know a part in a movie that I could be like this guy.
Right.
But I know the actor I'm thinking of, and if when he came around the corner, if it was him, I was gonna be like, that's definitely Fields. But when he walked around the corner and it was Walter, and I was like, oh, that didn't really look like him. Did not go back for
Right.
the second reference, so I have to go back and watch. I think that was last week's episode, right? That started with the guy with the cart.
Yeah, that was
So I
last
have
week.
to go back and check that out to see if the builds match up because his hair, the guy's hair with the cart was like white, and Walter's hair was more like way dark gray. And that was the comparison I made. And Walter looked a little
And to be
skinnier.
fair to the audience, we are calling Fields Walter because he's fucking Walter. He's always going to be Walter. We are
I'm
fringe
saying, yeah,
fanatics,
yeah. Fringe
and
is such a
he's
great
walk.
show, and
The first
he,
thing that popped up on the TV is Severance. Look,
yeah, that's great. So
but
I don't know his name. I wish I knew his name too. He's the guy who played Boromir and Faramir's dad in Lord of the Rings, the steward of
his
Gondor.
name is Excellent Q Actor.
Right. So he ends up being Fields, which to me, I kind of put that theory to bed right there. Where I have to go back and look again to actually put it to bed, but it wasn't the right thing. However, who knows what these fucking people are capable of doing with this severance technology? Can they take another person and put them in another person's body?
Mm.
Is this a possible thing in this thing? I don't think we can rule that out. So, could still be Fields. The theory is not dead, in my opinion. I just thought it was a good theory. She kind of spit it out right at the beginning. I don't know where she got it from, but she came to it on her own. But she spit it out right at the beginning of the episode. And I thought it was really interesting. But then when I saw him, I just didn't think that was the case. But we come to them sitting at dinner, and Irv asks him why he worked at Lumen. And in my favorite shot of the whole episode, it goes to Christopher Walken in like largely he's wearing black clothing. The scene is very dark. So basically all you see is his head and the roaring fire pit behind him. And he says, I was led to Lumen by Jesus. And just like as he looks like the devil himself sitting there. He
And he
says, I
said
was
it in
led
a
to be Jesus.
devilish way,
He did. And I just was
kind of
like,
teasing him a little bit.
who is this man now? It just made me second guess who Bert Audi is altogether. So they have this discussion about they go to church, and the pastor at the church is saying that innies have souls. The innie is a separate
Right,
being
that's the church.
entirely from
Yeah.
the Audi, and the innie can be judged separately from the Audi. So the soul of the innie can go to heaven, while the soul of the Audi could go to hell, which is a
Yeah.
very like wholly insane concept. Because that, to me, if you look at it in that race, it's fucking cheating.
I looked at this from the perspective of, and this was one point I definitely wanted to discuss. I looked at it from the perspective of why would the church even take any position whatsoever, let alone a favorable position on the conditions? Because playing into the show, we got innies and outies, but it's just your unconscious mind operating without you versus your conscious mind. Why would the church take any position whatsoever, let alone a position that seems to be favorable towards having two souls in the same vessel? And to me, it almost felt like a political move from the church to give rights or sovereignty, so to speak, to the innies, and kind of force Lumen into a position where they have to kind of treat them better. Now, to be fair, Bert did say this happened years ago, and he'd been with Lumen for 20 years, I think he said.
But there was something there that triggered Irv, because he was like, well, Severance didn't start till 12 years ago. And he was like,
Right.
right.
And so the church taking that position such a long time ago, it doesn't so much feel like what I just said as far as them doing it for any rights to be a reaction to what just happened with Mark and the current cast of Innies. It feels like something that was done as a preemptive measure, kind of like what we're seeing right now in the real world, where NASA is doing all this stuff about satellites and search for
Playing
life.
our podcast in the background.
Hmm?
I said our last week's podcast
Oh
is
yeah.
playing in the background. That's funny.
But no, NASA is looking for life on other planets all the time. The search for extraterrestrial life, and the church did not have to take a position. This is the real world. So I'm just looking at the parallels.
Fair.
The church took the position that, well, of course there could be life on other planets. Why would God make life just here and all of his grand creation. He could have made life on thousands and millions of planets. What I'm saying is, it felt to me like the church was bucking for a seat at the table, so to speak, like to stay in power. I don't think it was
Stay
meant
relevant.
in this scene. In this scene, I don't think it was meant to imply that this could be true. And we dealing with a show and they talking about the soul and all that. I think it felt like this was Fields' justification for having him get the job there so that his soul could possibly go to heaven, because Fields is a believer, whereas Bert don't give a fuck.
He doesn't
He
seem
don't
like
think
he does.
yeah,
So
he don't give a fuck, and he's just playing with it like, okay, I'll do that shit because he actually believe this goofy shit. You know what I'm saying?
you
I happen to love this dude, but I'm gonna do this shit. And the church is just playing politics because the church does what the church does with it, which is we'll fold whatever the fuck y'all doing into our belief system
because we have to stay
as long
relevant.
as we get to still be
I
the
was
church.
actually having this conversation with my mother and sister over the week or yesterday. They were over here kind of while I was working, and we were all kind of talking about this sort of thing because my sister just started kind of like going to church and stuff again. So we were just, and they were like asking questions like that, and they were saying something about like how is it that the Bible is relevant now? Something that was written that long ago. I was like, because it was written, it was rewritten. And these stories are told through these people that are they're telling you these stories in a way that it's relatable to you now. Because if they told it as it was relatable to people back then, nobody would go because you have to have a more modern way of thinking to be relevant. So it was an interesting conversation. But you brought that up. You said basically the last thing I wrote down on my third rewatch was Fields basically says that Audi Bird is such a bad dude that he's not going to make it into heaven, and he hopes that any Bert makes it so he's not alone. It was basically that conversation, and I was just like, and then he just looks over at Bert, and Bert was just kind of like, "Is what it is."
Now, what's important about this scene
Go ahead.
is not just the villain reveal of Bert, because that's what I feel it is.
I
A villain
100%
reveal.
with you. Yes,
Yeah. It's also the
it was
fact
almost
that
like that when he
you,
opened the fucking door and said, "Who the hell are you?" It was like,
you're right.
yeah,
But I think it's also the reveal that Bert is not just a villain indescriptly, but also he's a villain who's directly working with Lumen, because the implication here is that Bert's invite for Irving to come to dinner wasn't just come to dinner and I can kind of play with your head a little bit, pause no homo. It was also that this was given Drummond the opportunity to go invade Irving's home and search through his
oh
stuff.
wow, I didn't even they like so obviously showed that, and I didn't even catch that. So
Mhm.
yeah, that even leans more into Bert's the villain type of reveal. And I think I get the feeling that like, and I guess he just flat out spelled it out that Fields knows this about Bert and still loves Bert and is so enamored and in love with Bert that he's willing to put up with the villainry in
I
hopes
understand, man. Love
that
is
the innie is
powerful.
a yeah, it is, and that the innie
Love
is
is powerful.
a good enough to get into heaven so he could be, but he doesn't even know any Bert that we
Not at
know
all.
of.
And he seemed to be slightly flustered, but willing to go and do the work in the relationship. Because when he said that he has to have the thought that any Bert and Irving might have been in there having unprotected sex, he has a right to ask about it. We need to talk about it like adults.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now he kind of got a little flustered with the, the chuckling and whatnot. It's like, no, but seriously, like, I'm being serious. Let's be pragmatic about this thing. I'm not saying it out of jealousy. I'm saying it like this is something we have to be concerned about, and something that I feel like is a legitimate question to ask. So like he's showing you through the words there, he might just be a good guy. He might not be the crazy doctor in the hallway. He might not be working with Lumen. But at the same time, the guy sitting across the table from him might just, in fact, actually be
The devil.
The devil.
or whatever the representation is of that in the
Mhm.
show. I mean, I like, I don't know. It could be a red herring or whatever, but sitting him in front of that fireplace while he says that I was led there by Jesus was just like, ooh, Bert, okay, this is a villain. This is not a good guy. We're rooting for Irv and Bert, and maybe Irv and any Bert could still be a thing, but Audi Bert, we gotta watch out for Audi Bert.
Yeah, and
He's a
also
bit of
turn the
a
damn lights
scoundrel.
on. Turn the lights on, man. I'm tired of like you. You don't have to turn the lights off and have mood lighting for us to sit here and eat food and have a discussion. It felt like I'm being vaguely threatening and ominous on purpose. It's not that I'm the villain, it's that I'm the villain and I kind of revel in that and I kind of enjoy that. That's my person. Now, I'm not just a villain, I enjoy being a villain. That's what it felt like with
Well,
the
I mean,
entirety of the conversation with Bert.
and to me, like the best depictions of the devil in like TV and movies are not always like a murderous rampage, you know, crazy psycho demon. It is the cold, calculated one that likes to fuck with people, not in a physical or violent way, but in the underhanded way, and fuck with
Mhm.
their their morality, and put these obstacles in front of them to make them question who they are, and he just revels in the discomfort of it and seeing people squirm. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of, and Christopher Walken fucking nailed it because obviously he's Christopher Walken, and the three men that were sitting at that table during that dinner, it was like, dude, the acting chop sitting here is just
That's
unfucking
that's a whole
believable.
lot of acting
That's
happening.
a whole lot of acting happening
Whole
right here
lot
at
of
this
acting
table,
happening at
and
that
I'm here
table.
for it. Yep, it was absolutely phenomenal. So,
Dope as
yeah, like
hell.
so. Then we go to then Mark and Helly. You know, they talk it out. She encounters him in the hallway, and she basically says, "Listen, you thought it was me, which means you wanted to be with me. That's it." And he was like, "Yeah, 100%." And then he's like, what did he say? It's another one of those moments. Okay, here, speaking of being a comedy, there was a moment during that like montage where they like went to the empty desks. And I was like, ain't no work getting done today. And you're like, yeah, no data being refined here.
Ain't no data
It
being
made me
macro
laugh.
data being
Just
refined
that
at
quiet
all.
scene, it just made me chuckle out loud, even by myself when I was watching it. So then, yeah, so she says, you know, he said, "Can I describe it to you?" That made me laugh. It's just like, dude, because
It,
this is just
he
like,
said, if you
it
want
goes
me to,
back
I
to
could tell
my,
you, I could describe it for you.
this goes back to the whole teenager thing. That's something a fucking teenager would say, bro.
Yeah,
This is
I
not
don't know.
something a mature, well,
I'm a
okay, fine.
teenager. But yeah, that was crazy.
You know,
That was an insane line. I remember as soon as he said it, I was like, no, like,
don't do that.
what are you
And she shut it
doing?
down so eloquently, though. She did do a great job. She's like, no, 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 I don't want her memory. And he was like, okay, okay. And he puts his head down, and she's like, I want my own. And then again, made me laugh with the like the high rise, like, did you just say what I think you said? Like, is this really
He
about
was
to
like,
happen again? Like, I
he's like,
never
oh
thought this was
shit,
going to happen again after I told you.
shit.
And this is about to happen today?
Two
Yeah,
times in a
let's
week,
go.
baby. I'm
Let's go.
yeah.
So then they
So
go into.
Mark and
Go
Helly,
ahead. Go ahead. Go
Mark
ahead.
and Helly, reconciled the whole situation with Audi Helena, and they moved down the hallway, found an empty room, and they made smushies. Here's the thing
They
about that
may,
scene
but
though.
see, again, another teenager move. They went under the bleachers
Oh yeah,
and made out.
no,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Even it was two desks and they made a tent out of plastic. But yeah, go ahead, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
I'm recording. I'm recording. Oh, you can't be serious right now. So, what happened was it wasn't so much that they were doing that. That part was kind of like the top layer. The thing that we didn't even discuss, but I did kind of point it out for a second, but we just kept watching the episode, was that these were older versions of their desks I remember distinctly talking to you before about it. That the implication there was that the old apartments, the old versions of Lumen or whatever, these were in different buildings, but this looked like a closed down department that they
Right.
were in.
Yeah, there was like a whole office building with like at least three
Yeah,
or four, six desks in there, but they were dual desks. They weren't the four
right.
person desks. So like maybe it was like a failed experiment of some sort. Like these departments didn't work out.
Hmm.
It didn't work out in
And they
this.
even had a different color scheme. They all had that like that burnt red color looking partitions between each
Right.
desk,
You
and it
remember
was like,
too, Mark, the 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 replacement Mark in
hmm
first episode. He said something about the color scheme being purple and him not liking it or something like that in his old department. But that was he was they were
hmm
at a completely different location. They came from a whole nother location, or at least that's how I
right.
understood it. They weren't in that building. They came from Department X or something like that. I can't remember
Yeah,
what.
but see, that's what I mean. The innies don't know shit. You're an innie, you don't go outside. What if they just told them they was in
This is
said
also
location?
true. And
You're in said
he
location.
said I thought I was permanently gone. So this is a nice
Hmm.
surprise. So like who knows how long they were on the burner, before they got the call back to come back to work. And like you said, they could be. Oh man, this is blowing my mind. That's a really good point. They're innies. He wouldn't know if they were at a separate location from here, so everything could still be
Yeah,
taking place under this one fucking roof.
yeah,
The
and I want to
Lumen
go
building
back to
with
that
Keanu
one
Reeves'
more
voice.
time because I'm gonna double down on this point.
Go ahead.
I think I'm gonna be the only one online that's right about this. I'm predicting this. Harmony Cobell, when she left, there was a road sign to her hometown, and it was some 200 some miles away.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of highway driving. Everybody does. You see those signs exist. Generally, when something is 200 some odd miles away, there's something between that that's also on that sign.
True.
You would not
Usually
get
the
on the highway.
neighboring town is not 200
Yeah,
miles away. There's usually something
right.
else in between there. That's a very interesting point.
I feel it just felt. I get it. They don't want to give away the location of this mythical town, but for me, just watching it, I feel like production wise, it wouldn't have took anything to make a couple more fake names and say this one is 30 miles away. This one is
Yeah,
five
so
miles
it was
next.
done it was done purposefully then.
Yeah, it was like this one sign, one place you can go to, and it's 200 some odd miles away, lonely highway, cold as shit. You might as well
And like
stay
you
here.
said, it's not like that sign. It was a big green sign with one white text in the middle of it. There was space on top and
Yeah,
bottom of that sign for there to be other things listed. This
yeah,
is
it could be
correct.
other signs, a
Yeah.
highway patrol
So
sign, a
you think
speed
they're
limit sign,
trapped in
anything.
this town of Kier, however it is, somehow, some way.
My prediction is remaining that I do not think that this is the reality that we think it is. I think it's some sort of vague imitation of the reality that we think it is, and
I
I
think,
don't
like you
think
said, who
I don't
knows?
think anybody leaves the town.
We could be Inception levels deep in this. You know what I'm saying?
This is true.
Like the people in the town that live in the town could be Severanced twice over. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? You see what I'm getting at? I'm trying to like
It's
formulate it.
it's what I told you earlier before though. Remember I said it's like when Morpheus got Neo out of the Matrix, and then in the second Matrix movie, Neo used his power outside of the Matrix, and
Hmm.
everybody was like, "Oh, the Oracle, who was said in the movies to be a liar." She just says what you need to hear in the moment.
Right.
She told Neo, "Well, the powers of the one extend beyond the Matrix." No, that don't make no fucking sense. Physically, a human being can't project lightning out of his fingers. The theory there was that the Matrix included the Matrix and Zion
And Zion, that
and
was all part
everything
of
in
it too.
between.
Yeah. So it's the
There
same.
was
Yeah. So the
no
same idea is happening here.
right. It's
Exactly.
the
I'm
same
right with you.
idea.
Yeah.
There's no outside of Kier.
Right with you.
Everything is Kier, and I
Right.
think they're making it clear because the proliferation of Lumen products in one place is absolutely insane. I see on one side, narratively, you're telling the person Lumen makes a lot of products. They're the big corporation. But realistically, who in the fuck buys Lumen everything? Every
That,
time we see
yeah,
something, it's
it's
Lumen.
it's like the old like Looney Tunes cartoons where everything was Acme.
Everything was Acme.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like who in the fuck buys Lumen everything? What world could you make that reflects our world where everybody buys the exact same company's products for everything from home use to shoes to food to medical supply? Every no, this fit and Lumen. By the way, I don't know if we ever discussed this before, but Lumen, the word, it means light.
Yeah.
There's a overarching religious connotation to
Oh,
the
for
show
sure.
in and of itself.
100%. And they
So
really
yeah,
leaned heavily on that in this episode. So that, but it
fucking
goes back
hurt.
to what you were just talking to, going back to Mr. Saliba, talking about them making their own doors in house and
Mm-hmm.
how much like hubris that is. The dial. So like after Helly and Mark make up and hook up, they're kind of like doing that like you just got laid, walk down the hallway with the disheveled hair and all that. And they start like making out again a little bit, and then she gets blood on her face, and he's like, "Your nose is bleeding." And she's like, "No, that's you, obviously." So then
He's going.
it like,
He's going through the steps.
so then it flashes, and like he's in the chair in the basement, right? Am I mistaken, or is that how that happened?
No, no, no. It didn't flash immediately. Um, it went to the thing where Mrs. Wong was
Oh,
talking
right,
to him and him out,
right, correct. Oh, that's what I was getting
and
at.
then
The Lumen, she had the Lumen brand fucking medical device or whatever it was. The
mhm,
yeah,
the blood pressure
yeah,
kit.
yep. So
And so
that's
it's
kind of
like,
where I was going with that. Yeah, that's I was leading.
so yeah,
Everything
no,
was moving.
she's talking to him, and Mrs. Wong, and this is a part of the reason why I theorized that she might actually help them out eventually, is because she's still the way she cared for Mark, even though she was questioning them and questioning what they was doing. It didn't seem like an accusatory thing. It was more or less just kind of out of curiosity, and
Well, the way she
it
asked
felt,
Helly, she's like, "Did you punch him?" She's like, "Well,
yeah,
not
and
today."
right, and it
Right.
was more of a thing where it was like she was just, you can almost feel a little bit of empathy, and I doubt that they would left the take in if they felt like the actress couldn't pull that line off the right
Right,
way.
right,
So
right, right.
it felt like she actually cared a little bit.
It felt like genuine, like she was genuinely
Yeah.
trying to like figure out what happened, and then yeah,
Hmm.
and so she asked another interesting question and another interesting use of words. She said, "Did you like any?" She asked him a couple things, and then she said, "Any auras or hallucinations?"
Hmm.
Auras is a weird term to use,
Yeah, it is.
right? I know exactly what she meant from context, and because I play video games and watch a lot of weird, sci-fi and fantasy movies, so I get the idea of what aura is. But why say it like that? Like as if it's a common thing that people see auras. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it might be a thing where they see auras when their integration or when their integration is failing or something. She might have been looking for fail safes or warning signs that there might be some problems with the chip.
With the chip.
Now, what we
Okay.
didn't do, we did skip over because we was really in a rush to get to Helly and Mark with their weird sex scene.
Yeah, go ahead.
We didn't really discuss the fact that after Milchick stacked those
Oh,
double
yes.
stacks of paper.
Go for it.
Yeah, but
So,
he began to
like his hands were
do
shaking from doing all 10,000 fucking stacks of
yeah,
paper.
he wanted to make sure he got that paper clip thing as muscle memory,
Yeah.
but he began to speak to himself in the mirror with the phrase that he used for Mrs. Wong, telling her about being childish. Basically, he, I think the way you said it, he distilled down
He said,
that long
right,
wordy phrase
you need to
to
eradicate from your essence childish folly.
right to he went down in the process of eliminating different words, and then he
Right.
eventually just said grow up, and then he stopped saying grow up, and he was staring at himself almost like on the verge of tears, like saying grow,
Grow.
and he was saying grow
Grow.
forcefully. He was
Grow.
trying to make himself grow
Dude, if that
as a
scene
person.
doesn't win that fucking guy some sort of award,
Nope.
that scene by itself doesn't win that guy an award, I'll be surprised. I don't care what award it is. He
The
is
whole show should have
absolutely killing it.
the whole show should have won should have won an award when Dylan was holding those two buttons.
And see, I even think this
That
season
shit
is
was so.
way more popular than last season was.
Oh yeah, no,
It's
they doing more numbers now.
yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I think it was one of those things where that show caught on. Like we were watching it when we were watching it and doing the podcast. It was like while it was airing. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah,
So
we was
that
doing
like
a
I don't think that show caught on until after it aired, and people sort of went back and watched it and binged it and things like that. So I think yeah, and then it was like, oh, this shit is really good, and then yeah, even my daughter, she was like watching it. She started it just a week or so ago, so she got to plow right through and go from she's alive right into the next episode. Like we had to wait 2 years.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
a couple of years.
yeah.
But yeah,
So
no,
go ahead.
but with the with in that scene in which Miss Wong is caring for Mark, taking care of his nosebleed, this is when he starts to flashing again, and he's hearing somebody speaking to him, and it's Ragabi.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he's flashing, and he's with Ragabi, and he's hearing Miss Wong. And what's happening is the reintegration is happening, and we're not figuring out. We're being shown that the scene we were previously watching with him and Helly and all that wasn't actually what we was watching, and we was watching his memory.
We're watching a
He was
memory.
he was actually remembering, because this was all still the same scene from the opening of the episode. When they start, everything that happened with Mark and Helly and all that was just him remembering this, and we were still in the basement, and she was doing the reintegration process. So I thought that was pretty cool the way they put that together.
Yes. And the way she was like, "Are you at Lumen right now, or are you in your basement?" And he was like, "I don't know."
You're like,
Like
yeah,
it
I
was
don't
just the
know.
way he acted out the scene to just be totally confused. He peels all the shit off
And,
his head. He gets mad at her, and because she says, "We're gonna go flood the chip. We're gonna go through the hole in your head, and that's already in your head." And I was like, "Wait, what the fuck?" And she starts like
yeah.
combing through his hair, and he's like, "Get the fuck off of me!" And like he's like bats her away, and he's like, "I'm gonna go eat."
Now, one of the things that she said, and one of the things that I'm a little bit caught up on, or snagged on, so to speak, is that she said she was explaining the reintegration to him and some of the symptoms, and that he will have some time. Not, I don't know if she used the word warp or bending. I can't remember the exact terminology she used, but she said something funny about time. And it's like, okay, here's the problem with that. And I want you to think about this. If he's in the basement with Ragabi and he's having memories of being the any and having these interactions with Helly and Dylan and Wong, it makes sense for him to talk like that. And Ragabi has to ask him, are you here with me or are you in Lumen? What doesn't make sense is, how is it that his interaction with Mrs. Wong was her asking him what's wrong? Because he was clearly spacing out at the time, which would mean
You are
because
blowing
this
my fucking mind right now.
because this was a memory, that means in his memory in the past, he was remembering the future. And that, my
Well,
friend,
you can't see me on the camera. I keep, dude, like when you were talking, I just like kicked back in my chair and I'm just like putting my hands in the air, like, what the fuck, dude? This
now,
is absolutely bananas, and I didn't even cross my mind. Wow, bro.
now, people, this is what I'm talking about. This is why you come here.
Wow,
Watch the show with
it's
us.
absolutely bananas.
Because we're gonna point out the stuff that, yeah, okay, it's cool. The actors are great. We're gonna do all that shit too.
So, because I
But every
wrote
once
down here, go ahead, finish your thought. I'm sorry, finish your
But
thought.
every once in a while, we're gonna hit you with something that I promise you, you will not see somewhere else. They're talking about bending time, and if you're bending time, if you know anything about physics, you bend in space, and if you bend in space and time, then
Yeah, but
we're
then there
talking
is
about a
theories about
higher
bending
level of
time without bending space, or bending space
yeah,
without bending time. Like it's,
yeah.
I don't know. But so I wrote down here because like that leads into the next. So he goes to eat and he runs into Helly, and you got me all fucking fucked up, and like you could tell the excitingness of my voice because that is phenomenal. So he goes and he talks to Helly,
Thank you. I
and
appreciate it.
during that conversation, I wrote down what because she says, "I'm sorry about the other night." She's talking about the OTC happening the other night. They told the innies that they were down for 5 months. So I said, I wrote down, what's the timeline here? Helena said OTC was the other night. Was the 5 months a lie? To
Jeremy.
the innies don't have any concept of time, bro. They don't know what time it is or how long they've been up or down or if
Exactly.
it's the next day. Holy shit, man.
Yeah, yeah. Because you remember, like, if my job came to my home 5 months after I was fired and started asking questions, that would seem weird, right?
No, and then because that's it, because you think about it, because on episode 1 they said they had been down for 5 months, but then episode
Hmm.
2 they picked up the day of the incident.
Yeah,
I think so. Everything we've been seeing in the real
they
world is
lie.
directly after. So they've been telling the innies, yeah. So like, and that whole memory thing is fucked up. That is crazy to me because like that means like that goes like so whatever happened happened. So he always got that nosebleed. Like
Yeah, yeah. That's called the bootstrap paradox. Is playing with causality and all that
yeah,
other shit. I love it. Here's my
I
problem
love
though.
it. Wow, yeah, go for it.
Here's my problem. See, you just pointed out something to me that I saw completely different from you. I didn't even think about the fact that her walking up and apologizing for the other night could have been referring to the OTC incident, and that couldn't have been 5 months ago. Because what I saw was Helly walking up and apologizing for having sex with his any,
Yeah, but he
just to
doesn't
kind
know
of
that.
just just to kind of it's a temperature check. The entire conversation, from my perspective, the entire conversation with Mark at that restaurant was a temperature check. I want to see what you know.
Okay,
I want to see what you think about. I want to see because you think about it.
because
We've already
they also know reintegration is possible because of Petey.
they know reintegration is possible. They know Mark and Helly, the Ennies, were trying to escape. They know that they exacted the OTC protocol. They know all of these things. And they've been shown to kind of be watching people outside of the fucking facility. She came in with the temperature check. He's looking confused. Then she temperature checked him again. And this one was a little more obvious when she referred to his wife by a different name. The kind of, and then it was like, let me just see, I'm fucking with you a little bit to kind of see what makes you tick. She says he should meet her father. Like that's her boyfriend. And that's the third side to this conversation between Helena and Mark. What I said 3 episodes ago, 100% correct. The Indy and the Audi are the same person no matter what.
Yeah, they
When
have
I
the same
told you that
tendencies.
the when we predicted that Cole Harbor and all this other thing, Mark ultimate purpose might be to impregnate Helena or Helly, as it were. we predicted this, and I said that Helena saw that video footage of Helly and Mark kissing by the elevator, and she felt jealous, and she wanted to experience that herself. That was exactly Helly B's reaction after finding out Mark slept with Helena. After she went through the whole sexual assault man fuck thing, she came back and she had that same personality trait as her real self, which was I want to experience that myself. So
Yeah.
they have a relationship now. Any Helly, any Mark have a relationship. What's left for outside Helena?
To try to have a relationship with Mark.
Have a relationship with Mark.
Right.
Go out here and test them. Let me press his buttons and shit.
You described that while you were
Also,
here, them being the same person. It was
yeah.
and it was phenomenal.
And also, she, like I said, that little slick young, teenage talk. Like you said, they act like teenagers, but this is the Audi. She's an Audi, but she's talking like a teenager. You should meet my dad. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
weird shit.
It's so weird.
Weird shit.
So then he kind of like has another like moment. Well, with her, like he sees Helly and it flashes, and then he's like, "I gotta get the fuck out of here," basically. And he goes home, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I flipped out." He tells Ragabi, "I'm sorry, I flipped out. Let's do this right now."
Let's do it right now.
And dude, it didn't happen to me the first time, but the second time I watched it, this scene made me physically uncomfortable. Like it made me physically.
He had to turn it off. He couldn't finish watching it.
No, I didn't turn it off, but like the whole like her opening up his head, and then my daughter, she's my oldest daughter is about to be a nurse, and she was telling us while we were watching the episode that you don't have pain receptors in your brain.
Yeah.
So if there was like when she stuck that needle into his brain like that, he wouldn't have felt that. You know, like as far as pain goes.
He wouldn't have felt the physical pain in the brain, but
right.
Depending on where she put the needle at and what it is she was doing, it could have caused a reaction in the body somewhere because
it obviously did.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So then like she does the thing, Devin shows up in the middle of it. Like she's got a fucking needle in the back of the dude's head, and his sister shows up at the house, knocking at the door. And he's like, she knows I'm here. My car's in the driveway. And he runs upstairs, whatever. He's just sweating, and they get into kind of an argument. And the craziest thing, that one that made me like really uneasy, was when he was trying to grab the glass of water, and his hand wasn't working, and you could see, and the way he acted it out, dude, so fucking good.
No, that was pretty cool.
He killed it, like to act out. There's no words in this scene, dude. Your brain is telling you to pick up this glass of water, and it's not happening. Go. The way he was knuckling it and pushing it across the thing. It was so good, man. He absolutely murdered that scene.
And then it almost was murdered.
Yeah.
Because then he fell flat.
Yeah, well, and she even pointed out, and we got right before he ran up the stairs, where Gabi said, you have to be still. You can't fucking jerk around like that because of what's going on right now. Dude falls and hits his head. Like, literally falls down on the side, whacks his head on the ground, dude.
And the first thing I thought when I saw that scene was another day, another PD.
Dude, I was like sweating. Like the second time I watched it, like my forehead was sweating watching his head hit the ground. And then so Ragabi comes running up the stairs. Obviously, a stranger comes running out of your brother's fucking basement. She's like, "Who the fuck are you?"
She didn't just come running up. She ran up and screaming at Dylan.
Yeah,
I mean,
Devin. Yeah,
he was like, she was like, "Get the hell away from him! Don't fucking touch him!
Don't touch him!" Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Who the fuck are you?" You know what I'm saying?
Right. And then so that was the last. Was that the end of it? No. That was not the end. No. I think the last scene was from Bert.
What?
Them walking out. It was Bert walking
outside. Out and making plans to possibly meet up with Irving again.
Well, he said, with Irving, and he said, well, yeah, of course with Irving, but, you know.
With Fields.
With Fields. But with what did you say?
Fields.
but otherwise is okay too. You know,
hmm
it was some devilish shit.
But here's the thing. Here's what's devilish about it. That's what's so dope about the scene is because Bert knows he can manipulate Irving,
100%.
and that's exactly what he was doing.
He's been doing it. He did it the whole time. He started doing it when he
hmm
pulled up on him in the phone booth and invited him over. That was the beginnings of the
hmm
manipulations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And so yeah, that's well, we're gonna see where that goes,
right.
and that might
I
be
love Christopher Walken being the villain here because Christopher Walken plays a really good fucking bad guy.
one thing I will say is that I feel like this is my prediction for whatever their next meeting is. It won't be a long meeting of pleasantries. They will meet up, and Irving will find himself in mortal peril, as they say. He
like
will be in
actually
danger, and I think Drummond will be there. That's my prediction.
will be at his house.
He
Oh, so
will be
that's another
wherever.
thing too. Like real quick, I wanted to touch on that because he did while that scene was going on, and we saw Drummond in his house. So,
hmm
all right. So on the paperwork he pulled out, at the top of the paperwork at the letterhead, it said
hmm
duplicates removed, and then it had a list of names.
I didn't see the duplicates move part.
Most of which were unfamiliar, but Dylan was on there, on one of the papers, and then he flips the paper over, and then here, this is going to lean right into your theory right here. You're going to love this. So handwritten on one of the pieces of paper. I don't know if it's by Irving or somebody else. I'm guessing Irving because he's the one with the paper and taking notes on these letterheads. It says, "Did the settlement lead to severance?" The
Hmm.
settlement.
Hmm. I'm gonna think about this one. I gotta watch the episode again.
So
I only
yeah,
watched it one
so
and three quarters of
yeah.
the time.
So when you get to that point where he's looking through that stuff and it's that real close up on Drummond going through Irving's trunk, which he also had a
hmm
key to. He just
Yeah,
unlocked
why
it. He didn't
wouldn't
like
they
bust the
own the whole
lock off.
town?
He unlocked the key. So like this is like they're just allowed anywhere. Because yeah, this is
What do you do when you check in at Lumen? You go to the locker and
so
put
right,
your
yeah.
belongings in there.
So when they checked in way back into this town or whatever it might be, yeah, the keys to all their shit were the Lumen has all that shit already.
Yeah.
So that was that was another thing where I was just like I was pausing and looking at that paperwork and like reading the names. I didn't write down every single name that was listed there. Obviously, I saw Dylan. There was like two Dylans on there, two Dylan G's actually. There was like Dylan
Mm.
George and Dylan Green. So
But see,
I think George is I think it is Dylan George.
okay.
I believe.
But here's the thing. We discussed it. We know that there's not a lot of overt violence in the show, and the show is able to carry this level of tension and intrigue uh, through mostly dialogue. And at some point, a threat has to come to bear where the threat has to become real. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I feel like right now we only have one character in position to be the face of the person facing that threat, and that's Irving. And I see they just laid the trap for him in this episode. Okay,
Yeah.
he's curious, and he's also alone. So even though his any might have this memory of this relationship, he's still curious and he's alone, and he wants answers and he wants a relationship with this dude he apparently already had a relationship with.
Or he
I
feels
think
like
that's the
he's in
trap.
love with it. And I think this is good. This point is going to really illustrate and really drive home that innies and outies are two separate people
hmm
with two separate sets of motivations, two separate souls, if you will.
And one of
You
them
know,
definitely don't care about going to hell.
right? Like not only doesn't care, has accepted it and moved on.
Yeah, he's like, all right, well, I'm
Right,
going. Might as well
right.
do the things I like to
It's
do.
almost
So
like,
he
but it
goes,
almost brings up that whole morality issue. Almost brings up like, okay, so if if my innie is the good dude and he's gonna end up in heaven, I'm just gonna do whatever the fuck I want
Right.
because
And I
it
might be
don't
able to hit
matter.
your rad with him.
Right. So it's just a really strange. It brings up a lot of really strange discussions, man. I thought we had a really good discussion here on this one. This has been our fucking best episode so far, if you ask me.
It's because
You
of the
with
post.
the time thing blows my mind. Like I can't wait to see
No,
that explained.
the time thing fucked me up because I
That's
had to think
really
about because we thinking about logic here, and logically speaking, the only voice that should have been in his head is Ragabi's. But the fact that I mean, the only voice that should have been in his head is Wong's voice, not Ragabi's and Wong's, and not them reacting to him reacting to the voices in his head. It's one thing to have him reacting to the voices in his head, but for Wong to react to him reacting to the voices in his head, that means she's seen him do
it's
something
oh my
that
god, dude.
implied that he's. You understand what I'm saying? It's
But
fucking
it
bananas.
still leans into the old rule that I got from Lost. Uh, uh, he always said, "Whatever happened, happened. You can't
Yeah, it's
change it.
always happened.
It's always happened that way." So
Yeah.
like he always got that nosebleed. She always asks those questions. It's such a fucking mind fuck. I love it so much, and it just makes me like the show even more. It makes me can't wait to see what these next two episodes hold for us. We only got two left, and it should be a fun ride. I can't wait.
I'm thoroughly
And yeah,
discussing TV.
thoroughly disgusted with what?
Today's TV. I need my 28 episode TV shows like
Dude,
when I
it's
was growing up.
crazy, man. It's so insane,
28
and I
episodes a
understand now.
season, man.
If you and going, if you want to go into that little quick discussion, if you want towards the end of this here, dude, I think if you want to go 28 episodes, fine. Like if you like those seasons of Lost back in the day and things that were that long were fun. That was fun. I thought Game of Thrones found a really good sweet spot with that 10 episode season
How
when it
long were
was
the
good,
episodes of Lost?
huh?
How long were the episodes of Lost?
It aired for an hour, so they're about 40-ish minutes a piece.
So yeah, this was about 40 to 45 minutes of
Mm-hmm.
content with commercial and whatnot. So yeah, I can see it. Now to be fair, I mean you can't listen. I've seen short films that are thoroughly entertaining
Yeah,
and engaging. You
yeah,
can tell a story well, however you want to tell it. But when my desire to see longer seasons of television is just specifically for television,
yeah.
especially in this era where the trade-off should logically be if I'm not getting 20 to 28 episodes per season, then I should get the next season in 4 months.
Right.
But
It's
for
just that
some reason, we getting 8 to maybe 10 on a rare occasion we get 10 episodes, and then we have to wait 2 years. And this
I
is not just this show. This is not a
no.
singular
This is a
phenomenon.
lot.
This is a lot of our
A lot of
television now. We get a 8 episode run of a TV show. It hits hard. People love it. The critics love it. They all standing up collecting awards and shit together.
mhm.
And then we don't see the show again for a year and a half to 3 years. And it's like, what the fuck?
And I think that there's no. I don't think you probably can't put your finger on one single cause for that because I think it's a spectrum of causes. Money, business parts of it get in the way. Actor schedules get in the way because they're doing other projects and stuff like that. Yes, in an ideal world, I'd love to see it that way. I don't know if we're ever going to go back to anything like that. And the production quality. I think it's definitely make a way more expensive to make a show that looks and has such good cinematography and stuff like that as a show like Severance does, as opposed to even a show like Lost back in the day, which was good for its time, but the cinematography doesn't even stack up. It's not even close.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, but
cinematography,
at the
special
end of the
effects,
day,
and things like that. The way that they put the show together, it's not even
there's
close.
there's ways to do it. I mean, I take a show like True
Sure.
Detective, and I know it might be waiting long in between stories coming up good because True Detective is more of a Nah, I
anthology
wouldn't say
type
an
of thing.
anthology series, but more or less separated. The stories are separated by season, so it's completely different people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you look at a show like that, there's not a lot of special effects and shit. At the end of the day, I just feel like it's money. Money is the thing, and commercial interest always trump out people. And plus, I think the generation behind us don't mind as much as we do because we came from a generation where we can watch all this shit, and it was the only thing we had to watch. We had like 17 channels, and
Dude, the attention
we can.
span thing is also
Right.
like we
These
were
motherfuckers
forced to
don't even
focus
care. They
on
get something new every 5 seconds.
they can
So if they show
right.
them come back for a couple of
We
years, they
couldn't
don't really
swipe
even care.
past the thing we didn't want to watch. We just had to
Right.
watch it. It was what it
Yeah.
was.
It's like this was what was on. Everybody sat at home that night to
Right.
watch this episode, and now motherfuckers
Yeah.
can watch episodes of TV while they're on a bus on their phone. So
Yeah,
I
and
don't think
dude,
they
like,
care
well,
as
I mean,
much.
like, I did get a television in my room at a young age. Like, I had it when I had a Nintendo, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have it. Like, there wasn't a TV in every room in the house like it is now.
Mm-mm.
Like, for the most part, there's a screen everywhere. Every goddamn fucking place has got a screen. And if you don't have one, you just pull it out of your pocket, and there you go.
Yeah,
Speaking of
that's what I'm
which,
saying.
use those technologies to watch our show.
Yeah,
Like, comment,
we
subscribe, give us your theories down below in the comments. Please, please, please engage with the
we don't
video.
have seasons. We'll be here every week.
We'll be here every week, and we'll find something else to watch too, and talk about. Just keep it going. So yeah, we
Yeah.
just like I said, like, comment, subscribe. If you enjoyed the show, if you didn't, let us know why. Put it in the comments below. Any cool theories, anything like you guys want to say about the show going forward, or any kind of like theories you want to put out there, put on paper before the final 2 episodes air. Go ahead and throw that down there for us. And yeah, we'll see you. We'll see you next time. Now go ahead and
Deuces.
get the fuck out of here.
You're all right.